Welcome to the Bourbon Jerk. Thanks for the click. Have you ever wondered if the highly sought after bourbon that's difficult or seemingly impossible to get your hands on is really any better than the bottles that you can actually find? Well, we're going to see for ourselves in today's episode of Bourbon Versus. Or I suppose you could actually call this one Bourbon Versus, because we're going to actually pit 3 different bottles against each other. Here's what's in today's lineup. Got Larceny Barrel Proof, Weller Full Proof, and Maker's Mark Cellar Aged. The common denominator here being is that these are all higher proofed wheated bourbons from legacy distilleries. The Larceny Barrel Proof is the one that you're most likely going to be able to find. Heaven Hill releases 3 batches each year. Some batches might be a little harder to find than others, but just about every store around here has them on the shelves for about $60 to $70. According to Heaven Hill, these are blended from barrels aged between 6 and 8 years. The mash bill is 68% corn, 20% wheat, and 12% malted barley, and it's non-chill filtered. The proofs on these vary between batches. This is batch C923 from last year, and it comes in at 126.4 proof. Next, we've got the Weller Full Proof from Buffalo Trace. Now, maybe you're able to find a bottle of this. Most likely, you're not. Or if you did, you might have paid a little bit of an inflated price, or maybe even paid secondary for it. Personally, I've never seen a bottle of this around me for MSRP. This bottle actually belongs to a friend of mine who was lucky enough to snag it just as it was being put on the shelf at a local big box store. Now, this doesn't carry an age statement, but it is rumored to be over 6 years old. It uses Buffalo Trace's wheated mash bill, which is also a bit of a secret. It is bottled at 114 proof, and it's non-chill filtered. And last, we've got the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged. This is the oldest of the bunch, as it's a blend of 11 and 12-year-old bourbons. I believe this is also the highest age statement for any Maker's Mark product ever. It's got the classic Maker's Mark mash bill of 70% corn, 16% wheat, and 14% malted barley. Now, this was a limited release from last year that you most likely didn't have a chance to buy anywhere. It's definitely the rarest and probably the most expensive of the bunch here. Comes in at 115.7 proof and is also non-chill filtered. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put these in a blind and see if the harder to get bourbon is really any better than the bourbon that you can go out and buy today, right now, if you really wanted to. But before we do that, today's video is once again sponsored by our good friends over at Into the AM. And just like they've cracked the code for the perfect t-shirt, they may have cracked the code for the perfect pair of pants. This month, after a year in the making, they came out with their all-day pants. So these pants are dressy enough that you can pair them with a polo and wear them to the office, or you can pair them with a pair of sneakers and a t-shirt, wear them for a night out. I think these would be the ideal pair of pants to wear to the golf course. Here's what you want to do. Go ahead and click on the link in the description below. Head on over and take a look at the pants. While you're on their site, don't forget to check out their other cool stuff. Graphic tees, the hoodies, the flannels, the joggers, the socks.
No, they still don't have socks.
Still no socks? Anyhow, when you go to checkout, make sure you use code word jerky. You'll save yourself an extra 10% off your order, and you'll be helping to support the channel. Now back to the video. With that said and done, let's try number 1. So right away on the nose, this one is vanilla caramel, maybe sugar cookie. Subtle sweetness. So those same notes kind of pull through to the palate. There's also a little bit of oakiness there. I would say that it's a really kind of buttery mouthfeel. Just kind of glides across your palate from the front to the back. Finish, not overly long. Does linger a little bit. Not what I would call a big finish. Let's try number 2. The nose on number 2, a bit more subtle than number 1. Not any really dominant note that's hopping out at me. Maybe like subtle red fruit. Maybe a little bit of vanilla. Now, as soon as this one hits your palate, boom, there is a punch of butterscotch and maybe like vanilla frosting or brown sugar. So while the subtle nose kind of welcomes you in, the palate kind of hits you over the head like a sledgehammer. This packs a lot of flavor on it. The finish is definitely bigger than number 1. And as far as rating these, I'm liking number 2 better than number 1. Let's try number 3. Yeah, again, I'm getting like vanilla and warm caramel. Apparently these are common notes I would pull out of Weeders. That one's definitely thicker and oilier than the first two. I really like the mouthfeel. Yeah, that butterscotch note really hits on the back of the palate and into the finish. The finish on this one is really intense. Super great pour. All right, so after drinking through these, I know which one I've got picked as the winner. Before I do the reveal here, do us a kindness. Take a quick moment and see if you're already subscribed to the channel here. And if you're not, go ahead and click that button for me. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps us build the channel. So in third place, number 1. Subtle nose, nice palate, not a whole lot going on in the finish, solid pour. Second place, we're gonna go with number 2. A little bit more going on the palate and the finish than number 1. Solid pour, a little bit better than that one. So that leaves number 3 as my pick for the winner out of the flight. Let's figure out what these are. Number 1 was...
That's gonna be your cellar aged.
There you go. Maker's Mark Cellar Aged coming in 3rd out of the bunch. What do we got for number 2?
It's gonna be your Weller.
Well, they're full proof. Okay, I kind of thought that was number 1, but you know, in a blind, anything can happen. Great pour, but just not quite as good as number 1, which was the...
It's gonna be your Larceny.
Larceny batch C923. Yeah, maybe you might not be able to get that batch still, since we're in April of 24, but you still should be able to get a Larceny Barrel Proof. You're gonna find it a heck of a lot easier than you're gonna find a Maker's Mark Cellar Aged or a Weller Full Proof. So what did we learn here tonight? Sometimes FOMO is just FOMO. Sometimes the stuff that you can get is really just as good as the stuff that you can't. Thanks for watching, and until next time, cheers. Stay jerky.